because I know these leaders of these countries. They're very street smart. They're very smart people. They know what they're doing. They're at the top of their game. We have somebody that's not at the top of his game, never was at the top of a game, never was. We have a guy who's a dumb son of a bitch, and to allow this to happen to our country.
All right, guys, so we have some pretty disturbing news to talk about that, in my opinion, is just more evidence of a weaponized and politicized DOJ trying to cover up for the Biden administration. I mean, just overt corruption in front of your face, okay? And it involves Devon Archer, who was Hunter Biden's business partner, who is set to testify behind closed doors to Republicans in regards to Hunter Biden's business dealings and how Joe Biden was allegedly involved, okay, which is crucial to the Republicans' claims that Joe and Hunter were in business together, and ultimately Hunter was selling influence using his father, Joe Biden, who was then vice president. Now, I want to go ahead and play a clip from the New York Post reporter who basically broke the news about Devon Archer, okay, and what he's expected to tell Republicans behind closed doors, so that you guys can get a better understanding of the information that this guy could give Republicans that will be crucial to potentially impeaching the president of the United States. Take a look.
Now is the journalist that broke the news on Devon Archer's testimony, New York Post columnist Miranda Devine. It's good to see you, Miranda.
You too, Guy.
All right, so is this actually going to happen on Monday? Because my understanding is these conversations, these interviews, and the expected testimony has been deferred on multiple occasions. Will we finally hear from Mr. Archer next week?
Yes, look, I believe so. I know that there was a lot of toing and froing and dates put up over the last 2 weeks, and they never really settled on one day, but they did settle on this Monday, July 31st, and so I believe that's going ahead. And I don't think Devon Archer wants to put it off again because, you know, he's suffering from death threats and has had to leave his home, and it's all very awkward for him. So I think that you know, chances are he's just going to want to get it over and done with. And of course, Congress goes into their August recess shortly. So I think on both sides, there's a desire to get it out of the way. And, you know, as I previewed on Monday, what Devon Archer is expected to tell Congress and the Oversight Committee is pretty damaging to Joe Biden, because it just blows up his entire story about knowing nothing about his son Hunter's overseas business dealings. Here we've got Devon Archer saying that, well, Joe Biden was dialed in by Hunter on speakerphone on up to 24 occasions to speak with his overseas business partners, that Joe Biden came along to 2 dinners at least at Cafe Milano in Georgetown, again to meet Hunter Biden's business partners, again while he was vice president. So it's very difficult for Joe Biden to sort of continue to stonewall. I noticed that the White House has changed their form of words. Now they're saying Joe Biden is not in business with his son. But, you know, that wasn't the question. That's really leapt forward a good deal.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Now, again, this is potentially a bombshell testimony, because this guy could give Republicans the smoking gun evidence that the liberal media is looking for to prove that Joe Biden was, in fact, connected to Hunter Biden and his business deals. Not only did he talk about it, he discussed it with Hunter, which I'm like 100% convinced that that was the case. Not only that, again, he could provide, again, smoking gun evidence that Joe was involved, and Joe may have gotten paid, okay, from being involved in Hunter Biden's business deals, in which, you know, they were peddling influence, okay, which in my opinion is obvious. Now, again, more reasons why I think is obvious is because it appears to me that the DOJ, aka the Biden administration, is going out of their way to do whatever they can to stop these whistleblowers from testifying. And that remains to be true with Devon Archer, as apparently they're trying to send the man to prison before he can actually get a chance to testify in front of the GOP. Or at the very least, they're trying to intimidate him, okay, from testifying in front of the GOP. Take a look.
I want to ask you about your investigation, but first, let me get to this breaking news. I have in my hand a letter from the Department of Justice that was sent to the Southern District of New York on Saturday. By the way, Devon Archer is testifying on Monday. Do you usually see the DOJ send letters like this out on a Saturday?
Never. This is the first time I've ever heard of the Department of Justice doing anything on a Saturday.
So what is this letter? Can you walk us through it? The government is apprising the court of the status of Devon Archer's appeal of his judgment of conviction, and they request that the court set a surrender date for the defendant to report to a facility. Please walk us through what this letter says.
Yeah, the letter from the Department of Justice is trying to nudge the judge to go ahead and sentence Devon Archer for something unrelated to what we're going to be talking to him about tomorrow. It's odd that it was issued on a Saturday, and it's odd that it's right before he's scheduled to come in to have an opportunity to speak in front of the House Oversight Committee and tell the American people the truth about what really went on with Burisma. So, I don't know if this is a coincidence, Maria, or if this is another example of the weaponization of the Department of Justice, but I can tell you this. The lengths to which the Biden legal team has gone to try to intimidate our witnesses, to coordinate with the Department of Justice, and to certainly coordinate with the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee to encourage people not to cooperate with our investigation, to encourage banks not to turn over bank records, to encourage Treasury not to let us have access to those suspicious activity reports. It's very troubling, and I believe that this is another violation of the law. This is obstruction of justice.
Yeah, so you've seen that, you heard that. Now, Devon Archer, who is Hunter Biden's longtime business partner, right? He's set to testify before the House committee, okay, about Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and their business dealings. Now, Devon Archer, back in 2018, was convicted for his role in conspiracy to defraud a Native American tribe, but his 2022 sentence has been repeatedly postponed due to a series of appeals. Now, it just so happens that on Saturday, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York wrote to trial judge Ronnie Abrams and asked her to schedule a date for Archer to report to prison after the Second Circuit Court of Appeals finalized an order days earlier upholding his one-year sentence. So basically, it just so happens that right before this guy is set to testify before Congress, okay, with potentially bombshell testimony or evidence that could directly link Joe Biden to Hunter Biden's business deals, the DOJ is basically asking the judge to go ahead and just, send this guy to prison, right? Go ahead and send him to prison, right? Put him in prison. Now, the chances of the judge actually, making this man go to prison before he can testify is slim to none. However, it does seem to me that this is an attempt to intimidate, right? To basically send some type of message to Devon Archer, right, before the testimony, which could sway some of the things that he is willing to admit behind closed doors. Who knows, right? It seems to me that, again, this is clear intimidation. But again, what is expected here is for this guy to come out here and to basically provide a link or a more direct link between Joe and Hunter. The mainstream liberal media, in response to this, well, what are they doing, right? They're doing what they always do, okay? Democrats and the liberal media are colluding to say it's a conspiracy, there's nothing happening here, right? There is no evidence, and we should just ignore it. This is what they're saying, of course.
Hunter Biden situation, and I understand that, you believe this is all being emphasized due to politics that the House Republicans are doing. Let me ask you this. Do you think it would behoove the president for him to come out and say, hey, I had no business dealings with my son. My son's issues are my son's issues. Do you think he needs to say that more directly? Because there's a lot of people that believe something something else would happen here.
Well, let's be clear about that point, Chuck. There's been a 5-year investigation, 5 years, by a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney. This investigation started during the Trump administration, and they've come forward with not one shred of evidence tying President Biden to any of this. I am encouraged that, in sharp contrast to President Trump, you've just detailed his mountain of legal problems where President Trump is fighting and pushing back and obstructing. Hunter Biden's come forward, taken responsibility, paid his late taxes. As you just discussed with Chuck Rosenberg, I think the hiccup in the Delaware District Courthouse will get ironed out pretty quickly. And I don't think President Biden needs to say anything more than he has.
House
There is
Republicans
no
are going to accuse
evidence.
him.
They are.
They're going to make the accusation.
They're going to accuse him of all sorts of stuff.
Whether they have the evidence or not.
Correct.
The question, and they may have an information ecosystem that helps amplify it to a point where you don't think he needs to just direct, hey, despite what you hear, just so you know, I don't do business with my son or my brother.
I think he's been perfectly clear.
Okay.
And I think, frankly, what makes the American people turn towards President Biden in the re-election campaign is that he has spent his time focusing on what they're concerned about, not relitigating the 2020 election.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, okay? Liberal media still out here carrying water for Democrats, right? Trying to pretend that there's no connection at all, right? Despite the mountains of evidence that we do have, okay? Now, there may not necessarily be a smoking gun, but, you know, hey, if this guy, you know, testifies and gives us direct evidence that, hey, Joe Biden was involved in business dealings with Hunter, again, this could be the smoking gun that we're all looking for, right? Which would make people like Chuck Todd look very silly, right? And Democrats look very silly for continuing to deny what, to me, is obvious, that Joe Biden, in fact, was involved. Again, considering the circumstances in everything that we know, okay, and everything that we've seen thus far. But again, the GOP is continuing to build that case, right? And it seems to me that the Department of Justice, they're trying to get in the way, right? At the very least, they're trying to, you know, make it harder for the GOP to get that smoking gun that they're looking for, so that we could actually get on with what we all want to see, which is Joe Biden get impeached, right? That's what we really want. But hey, we'll see. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.